Welcome back, everybody, to Terror and Touchdowns. As I tend to do, I got really busy this week, which sounds crazy because I went from not being busy at all to just being so busy I haven't had time to do much of anything. But it's the Saturday before the Super Bowl, and I always like to do a little podcast before the Super Bowl. And even though it doesn't have anything to do with college football, it is kind of the biggest day of the football season. I think the Super Bowl has a little more hype than the national championship. I think the national championship, I've talked about this, it gets a bit watered down. Tickets get so expensive, it becomes Indiana did a good job of showing up, but the fan bases can't really represent like they do for those home playoff games and those actual bowl games. But the Super Bowl, it's kind of the same thing, but the NFL is a corporate world anyway. I know I look forward to it. I don't care who's playing in it. I don't have an NFL favorite team. I always tell people my two favorite NFL teams are whoever's playing the Dallas Cowboys and whoever has the most Florida State Seminoles playing for them. But what's crazy is the Dallas Cowboys is the team that I like to watch the most. I was just raised in a house where we were not Cowboys fans, and I've kind of lived that life. And, I enjoyed watching the Rams because they got Verse and Fisk. The 49ers got a couple. Usually, it's different. Now, back in the day, there were Florida State guys scattered all over the league, and they still are, but it's not quite to the extent. So when you ask me who I am pulling for in the Super Bowl, my answer on most years is I just want a really good game. Kind of like I wanted with the national championship when I want tomorrow night to be a great game. And the Super Bowl, to me, it's the two extremes. You either get a really good game or you get a massive blowout. And there's not really much in between. And it seems like it's kind of streaky. And the Super Bowl is also a game I don't really remember year to year. Like, I am not going to lie to you. I have no recollection of how the Super Bowl got played last year. The ones that I remember the lights going out on the Ravens and them standing on the sideline, maybe in New Orleans. I don't remember when that was. I remember the last time Seattle and New England played because it's hard to forget them not handing the ball off and throwing the slant. And what was his name? Malcolm Butler, maybe, picking it off. Like, that one is in my head. I remember the Tennessee, St. Louis, I think it was St. Louis Rams at the time, the best show on turf. And I believe, if I remember right, Tennessee got stopped like at the foot line on the last play of the game. Like, I have memories. The only Super Bowl where my team won, I was a big fan of the 85 Bears back when I was a kid. I saw an article the other day about the most overrated Super Bowl winning quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. And Jim McMahon was up in there. And, I was 12 years old at the time, so it's not like I'd followed Jim McMahon's career. But for that year, Jim McMahon was a baller. And he was a hoss, and he was as tough as they come. But I was a big Walter Payton guy. Still don't understand why they handed the ball to the refrigerator instead of letting Walter Payton, who to me is one of the greatest running backs to ever play, score his touchdown in the Super Bowl. I've never, those are things that don't make sense to me, but at the same time, I still have my vinyl somewhere of the Super Bowl shuffle. But in most years, I just watch the game because I love the game. I love the commercials. I love the halftime. I'm one of those people. Back when I was in college and a bit younger of an adult, I would go to a Super Bowl party. I bet in my 5 decades on this earth, I've been to a Super Bowl party less than 5 times because every time I've gone to a Super Bowl party, I end up not getting to watch the Super Bowl because there's a whole lot of people talking. There's a whole lot of people that it's the first football game they've watched all year long. And that's not me. I would rather watch it either by myself or with a very small group of people that bring a few snacks and we just sit and we watch the game and we don't talk. That's my perfect world. So yeah, that's what I'll do tomorrow night. And I'll watch every commercial. I know that some of them have leaked beforehand. I've really tried to not watch. I think I saw a description for one the other day that I was like, man, that looks funny. I may have watched it, but in my old age, I have no recollection of what it was, so it didn't stand out that much. But I try to save it all for the Super Bowl day. Yeah, so I'm excited. I know Seattle's favored. I think by 4.5, maybe. I think that's what it was the last time I looked. I bet props. I don't bet teams, but if I was betting teams, I would bet Seattle. But I'm not gonna be surprised if the Patriots win. My sister lives in Boston. My brother-in-law, my sister, her 2 kids are giant Patriots fans, so they are rejoicing because, I mean, they had their run of forever where they were on top of the world forever, and then it looked like they weren't going to get back there for a while, and then here comes Vrabel, here comes Drake May, and it's like they poured magic potion all over everything, and here they are again. So they're excited, they're juiced. Like my dad's not a Patriots fan. I'm not anti. I didn't love Belichick. I am not one that didn't like Brady. I thought Brady was amazing, and people that didn't like him, I never really understood it. You know, I mean, yes, he won a lot, but man, he worked his butt off. Like that dude did everything you needed to do to win. That's why he was winning. Yeah, I like seeing different teams in the playoffs, but most of those Patriot games were good games. So, man, that's all I care about. I would love overtime. I would love double overtime. I would love it to come down to the very last play. That's, if I have a Super Bowl that goes to overtime, comes down to the last play, has some funny commercials and a great halftime, I am happy. Best halftime show for me is Prince. It will always be the best halftime show. Second best halftime show for me is Dr. Dre, Snoop, Eminem, 50 Cent, or what he looked like, Dollar Bill at the time. I think Kendrick was there that night. Like, that was still when Kendrick was popular, but he was still kind of a step below that group. That was my number 2. And then my number 3 is Michael Jackson. I was too young to really be registering that I was watching the Super Bowl halftime at the time, I think. I don't really remember. But, I've gone back and watched that a few times. I'm not a country music guy, so when they have country music stars, I don't love it. I loved The Weeknd a few years ago, and before that, I didn't really listen to The Weeknd. And it took me watching the Super Bowl to remember how many good songs The Weeknd actually had. I was like, I didn't know he sang that song. I didn't know he sang that song. I have since got to see The Weeknd in concert. And, yeah, the Super Bowl made me a big fan of The Weeknd. So, Bad Bunny, a year ago today, I knew who he was. I didn't know any of his songs. My sons and I have kind of flirted around listening to him, and I like him. And don't know a word he says, but I think he's got good beats. I think I think he seems like a decent dude. I've read he's got controversies, but I think everybody does if you Google him deep enough. So yes, I will watch Bad Bunny. I've heard some people are not going to watch Bad Bunny. I don't understand that. Like, why? Because he speaks Spanish. I haven't been around Texas for a while because, like, as a superintendent, 90% of my kids speak Spanish. Great. Maybe they get to watch somebody that they can look up to. That's awesome. So, yeah, I'm excited about it all. I've heard Green Day is doing something beforehand. Maybe the national anthem. I don't know. I'm a big Green Day fan. So, yeah, I'm excited about the Super Bowl. Speaking of music, let's backtrack real quick. Did you watch the Grammys last week? Me and my sons watched every bit of it from start to finish. I thought it started off really well. I think all of these award shows don't realize y'all can make it shorter. Like, you don't have to go for 3.5 to 4 hours. And I feel like the middle of the Grammys really got, like, at this point, we're just trying to make time go by. There's so many commercials. And so, yeah, it does get frustrating watching it. But then when somebody you're excited to see comes on, all of the frustration goes away. The ones that me and my sons were most excited to watch, the main one was Clips. I think that's the best rap album of the last year. I think it should have beat Kendrick, even though I like Kendrick. I honestly wouldn't have had Kendrick even in the top 2 or 3. I would have had Clips number 1 without a doubt, and I would have had Tyler probably number 2. And then there was another one, I can't even remember, but we were really excited to watch Clips, and I was starting to worry because I knew it was gone longer than it was supposed to. And I was like, maybe they're not going to show Clips because I didn't know that the Average Ordinary World was looking forward to Clips as much as I did. So I started to worry towards the end because me and my sons were really looking forward to watching them. I was looking forward to watching Tyler. The Tyler's was good, not great. Clips's was better, in my opinion. I did not expect to enjoy the Ozzy Osbourne tribute as much as I did, which that's funny because I love Ozzy Osbourne and I love that kind of music. Post Malone's amazing. Post Malone, like that dude can do pretty much anything, I've decided. But I thought it was cool to see the Guns N' Roses guys, the Red Hot Chili Peppers guys. I don't know I need to see where that other guitarist came from. But that one probably went above Tyler in my rankings for the performances. I thought the first performance of the night was fun. The Apata whatever. I've heard that song a lot. I never had a clue who sung it. Didn't know Bruno Mars was a part of it. But, I mean, I thought she did a good job. But then in the middle, like I said, some of it got long. Liked the D'Angelo tribute. I was a big D'Angelo fan, but I did think that one went on a bit too long. And I know they were tributing multiple people during that deal. But overall, we had fun watching it. I watch the Oscars. I've gotten over the last few years where I go to sleep before the Oscars ends. I'm a movie junkie, but the Oscars is not always a representation of the movies that I like to watch. Sinners is there this year. I like Sinners. I think Weapons is nominated for a lot. I like Weapons. So there's at least more. But like when I look at the 10 movies nominated for Best Picture these days, there's a lot of years I hadn't seen any of them. I think this year I've seen 2 or 3 of them. I'd have to look. I think Begonia's in there. I've seen it. Sinners is in there. Seen it. I don't remember if Weapons is in there. One Battle After Another. I've watched the first 10 minutes, and I love Paul Anderson. I think it's Paul Thomas Anderson. Love him. Magnolia is one of my favorite movies ever made. I just had trouble getting into that, but I will finish it at some point in time. I think I just got to give it more of a chance. I don't know. I was probably distracted when I tried to watch it, but the Oscars, I think they are slowly getting back in touch with real life. I think they spend a lot of time not in touch with real life. And, why not make the award show about movies that people actually pay money to see and enjoy seeing? Every now and then there's one that I think is that art house film that, like, we all have the ability to see that we're like, man, that's an amazing movie. But too often it's just, I feel like they just really try to pick stuff that I hadn't seen and I ain't going to see. And they make a whole award show about it. But I do think there's enough this year that'll keep me interested. Will I stay up for the whole thing? I don't know. I had a reason to stay up for the Grammys. Me and my sons were having fun watching it, and Clips was the very last one. I'll have to have a reason because I'm not going to lie. I can wake up the next morning and see who won Best Picture and be good. Anyway, back to the Super Bowl. So, do I think Drake May is going to play good? Yes. Do I think Drake May should have got the MVP? I really don't. Yeah, he's been great, but why not give it to Matthew Stafford? I know there's the thought that Drake May's got a lot of years left in the league. Ask Cam Newton how that feels because, that can go away really quick and you can be at the top and then float into obscurity really fast. So I do think like Drake May's probably wishing he'd have won because you really never know if you're going to get another chance, even though I think you will. I haven't watched Seattle a ton. I watched them in the playoffs. I think it's a cool story for Sam Darnold. I think the Minnesota Vikings, at the time, I thought the same. I thought they should have kept him. Why would you not? I think too often that's the grass is always greener, right? And the grass, we all know, those of us that have jumped the fence a lot of times realize when you get over there, the grass isn't always that greener. And I think the Vikings just assumed it was greener with JJ. And I do think JJ got a little better as the year went on, but I watched his first game and I was like, okay, this ain't it. So I think it's cool for him. And I think the Jets, the Jets probably live in an inevitable state of regret. But the Vikings, if I was Justin Jefferson, why not hang on to the guy that has proven, I know he didn't play great in the playoffs, but man, it's not always just the quarterback's fault, right? There's a lot of things can go wrong in the playoffs. I think if they could go back and know the future, they'd probably be like, yeah, we're going to hang on to Sam Darnold for another year. But proud of him. And I love it when he gets interviewed because they're always trying to bring up this, who are you trying to prove wrong? The story he's had, and he never even acknowledges it. He's like, man, that's not where my brain's at. My brain's appreciative for the team that I'm on and the people I'm getting to play with, and we're going to win the Super Bowl. I think that's a great attitude. I think Kenneth Walker's a hoss. I know that the other one got hurt. But in Kenneth Walker, maybe he didn't have as great of a regular season. I'm not going to know. I'm not going to lie. He wasn't on my fantasy team, so I didn't keep up with him as much, but I know he's been pretty dang good in the playoffs. Jackson Smith Enigma, is that his name? Rockwall kid, Texas kid, baller. And then the defense is solid, but at the same time, I think the Patriots, I've lived on my prayer props on Travion Henderson and the unders, and I've profited off of that. And right now I don't have it because it's so low. But at the same time, I have no reason to believe that the Patriots aren't going to find a way to be in this game. I hope they find a way to be in the game because I don't want to see it killing. I want it to be a close game. So I'm picking the Seahawks. I'm picking them outright. Like I said, if I was having to put money on it in the 4.5, I think that's a hard decision. I mean, obviously Vegas knows what they're doing. I think that's a hard decision, but since I'm not putting money on that, I am going to show you some of the player props I got money on. I will pick Seattle. I just think they can score more points. But I am not going to be a bit surprised if we watch tomorrow and New England just finds a way to shut them down. So I'm excited about the game. I love watching the Super Bowl. Like, I'll plant myself. I'll try to get most of my work done today. I work a lot on the weekends, but I'll have my computer out, and as soon as the pregame starts, which is usually like at noon or 1, I'll watch every bit of it, and I'll watch it all day long. Because, man, football's over after tomorrow, and, like, that's sad to me. Some of my good friends are giant baseball guys. I like baseball. I've never been the giant baseball guy. I would like to be because baseball lasts for 11 and a half months of the year. So that'd give me something to really get excited about. My dad's a giant Yankees fan. A lot of my friends are giant Rangers fan. When I lived in Fort Worth, I kind of got hooked on the Rangers. It just doesn't do it for me like college football and NFL football does. I do enjoy the NBA, and the trade deadline ended, so the NBA is going to heat up into, I like the NBA a lot more. I love All-Star Weekend. I am one of those people that still watch it. Never watch the All-Star game. Me and my sons watch the Slam Dunk every year. No, it is not near as good as it was when I was a kid, and you had Jordan and Dominique. Spud Webb, I was around for that, but me and my son still like watching it, and we always end up having our own slam dunk Nerf basketball competition afterwards. I love the 3-point contest, so yeah, I watch all that. And after that, it's kind of when the NBA season gets really going. So I'll watch that. I know a lot of people don't. March Madness, I don't watch a ton of college basketball until the conference tournaments and March Madness, but I say all that to say the Super Bowl is the end of the football season, so man, I want to spend as much time with football tomorrow as I can because I'm not going to see them again for a really long time. So looking forward to the game. Let's look at the player props I have. I'm going to show you my prize picks. I haven't made any of these in a few days. I did most of these a week out. So you can see those are today's. That's not. I spend $5 a day on CSGO, and I've never seen that game played a day in my life, but it gives me something to watch in the morning. There's all my NBA stuff for today. All right, so there's the 4 I have, and again, I don't know when I did these. I have not done any NFL, I don't feel like, since last weekend. I tried to look at the lines early. It's like everything right now. I feel like the lines are extremely tight. But I will show you what I've got. I don't do them all the same day, so I probably got some repetitive stuff in here. Let's start with the smallest one, 4-pick flex, just probably trying to get $50. So I've got the Drake May discount, right? And it looks like on this one, I have a hard time believing Jackson Smith Enigma's not going to get Enigma. However you say it, I'm sorry, I'll just say JSN. I have a hard time believing he's not going to get 7 receptions. Now, I mean, again, I think the Patriots know that too. I took the Goblin on Jason Myers right there. The one that I would be worried about is Kenneth Walker. But again, with him being the main back, I feel like I got a good shot at winning $50 right there. That one to me is low risk, low reward. But hey, who's going to say no to $50? So there's my 4-man flex. Then let's just go to the top and go to the biggest one, the 6-man flex. I don't have much luck with 6-man flexes. This used to be what I would do all the time because I had a little bit of luck when I first started Prize Picks. And, of course, you win big, but I've really leaned more into the 5-man flex and the 2 to 3-man powers lately. But, I did do this one. Don't ask me why. I was in whatever state of mind I was in when I did it. It's why I did it. You can see the second one. I can see a world where I finally get screwed by Travion Henderson's unders because the entire playoffs I have lived winning off Travion Henderson and his under on rushing and receiving. And I thought both of those were too low, so I decided to take rushing attempts. And now that I'm looking at it, like I don't feel great about that. So I would not tell any of y'all to take that. I do feel great about this. I had him on some unders, Stevenson, on the last one, and I don't think I realized how many times he carried the ball until, like, I thought he was on a 5-man flex, and I thought I'd won, right? I wasn't even worried about that one. Then all of a sudden I look at it, I think I had him on the unders for like 50-something yards, and it's red, and I'm like, what do you mean it's red? Like, every time I saw him carrying the ball, it was like a yard and a half, 2 yards, but he carried it so many times, he got up to like 72 yards, and it might have been rushing and receiving, but ended up getting screwed on that one, so I'm counting on him having a good day. Now, obviously, it's going to have to be a close game for him to hit that, but if it is, we will. I don't feel great about A.J. Barner and 25.5 yards. I do feel good about this one. Like, Sam Darnold typically does not have long completions. Now, yes, he did in the championship game. He hit Rashid Shaheed, is that his name, who I had on under, I think, because he's more of a returner. But, he caught that one big one. And if that happens tomorrow, that one's gone right off the bat. But, man, 35.5 is a long completion in the NFL. And so I felt pretty good about that. I can't tell you anything about the A.J. Barner other than with my props cash, and I'm going to show you that here in a minute. With my props cash, it made me feel like that's worth taking. And then Stephon Diggs has struggled. Struggle might not be the right word. He just hadn't really been targeted that much. And again, I could lose the Sam Darnold longest completion and the Stephon Diggs on one play. And I know that going in. But, it's a Super Bowl. I don't really care. So if it's $10, it's $10. But, I think, I feel way better about that 4-man I showed you than I feel about this. And again, I can't even tell you what night I did this on and what mood I was in and why I did all these. But, that's that one. And then I have 2 5-man flexes here. I was able to get the Drake May bonus again. You can see, again, I've got Rashid Shaheed under receiving yards. If I lose that, it's going to be because of one big, long reception, and I believe that. I do think Super Bowls are typically more defensive games than offensive games, and that's why you see a lot of unders here. You see, again, I've got Stephon Diggs on a different under. I've got Stevenson on a different under. And then I've got Sam Darnold on an under. So those are all unders. And they're all unders that, if it's a defensive game, I feel better about this 5-man flex than I did that 6-man flex I showed you. The ones that worry me the most here is if, like I said, if Shaheed catches one, it's going to be probably over that 23.5. And then, if he does catch one over, like I had Sam Darnold on the unders for the championship game, and that first big ball to Shaheed, I don't remember how far it was. In my head, I'm thinking 50, but it might have been 60. Like that put all of those in jeopardy, and that was like the first or second drive of the game. And, so if I can get through the first quarter without any big plays, I'll start feeling better about those. And then the last 5-man flex I have, again, I was able to get the Drake May bonus again. Thank you, Prize Picks. And these are more of the overs. I kind of have one that's kind of leaning towards there being a lot of unders. Then I have one that's leaning on overs. Mac Hollins over 27.5. Kenneth Walker over 104.5 rushing and receiving. I do think Kenneth Walker's going to have a shot at that. I think the AJ one on the earlier and the Mac Hollins, that's just, if it happens because of the game plan by the defense, and they were able to be the person that came up. I don't think either one of those guys are going to be the first read on many of the plays. But Kenneth Walker is going to be, he's going to be the beneficiary of most of the carries. And then, as an old coach, I always think about screen passes. So when I go rushing and receiving yards, it's typically, I know every now and then you can get receivers on that with some of those jet sweeps and all that. I am a running back guy because enough NFL teams still run screens that kind of helps a little bit. And then, Stevenson, again, I took that solely because of what he did to me last time. Like, he sneakily got up to I think it was 71, 72 yards. sitting here today, I don't feel great about that. I do feel good about Cooper Kupp targets. And with that being a flex, I might win $20. So those are the ones I have, and I'll probably make a few more after today's NBA games go, and I see if I made any profit today. I'll probably make a few more smaller ones, like maybe a couple 2-man, 3-man powers. But I'll take you through the lines real quick and show you why. It's no different than anything. And again, you got to bear with me as I'm sharing screens and stuff. It takes me a minute. Oh, I did the same thing I did last time. I went right back to Prize Picks. But we want props cash. All right, so I'm just going to take you through them real quick, and you can see, I feel like all the lines are really, really tight. And I have not looked at Prize Picks NFL in a few days. I do think, for those of y'all that don't have a props comparison tool, I'm a big fan of Props Cash. I told y'all beforehand, I've tried several. This one, to me, it's the easiest when I'm in a hurry, but it also has enough that when I have time to research stuff, there's stuff there. So passing yards, you can see like 5.7 and 9. Those aren't very big lines. That's one play to me, so I kind of stay away from those. And again, if you have Props Cash, you can kind of get on it and you can see what other sports books have them at, what other odds are. You can see all that good stuff. You can see the trends. And you can see he went way over on the championship game than what I thought he would. Drake Mays is pretty accurate in there. You can see the other sports books over there. You can see the analysis, but I don't feel great about either one of those. Rushing yards, not much different. You can see the biggest difference right there is 4.8 over. They have Kenneth Walker, but let's see what Prize Picks. Prize Picks supposedly still has him at 74.5. This is usually pretty up to date. Sometimes Prize Picks makes changes and then it registers here. So, that's enough that I would still be willing to take it. And then on the other end, negatives, none of that to me is worth it. Reception yards. So, Props Cash is, I think I had A.J. Barner on the overs, right? Let me go back and look at that. So that's not a good thing. Let me see. Yeah, I had A.J. Barner over 25.5. Well, they have him. They've changed him to thinking 21.3. So, you just never know with this stuff. Whoop, sorry about that. Didn't mean to zoom it in quite so much. Let's just refresh it. On the other side, you got Hunter Henry. They got him predicted to get 2 over 40.5. Let's see if that's what the sports books. Yeah, they still have him there. But again, man, it's so much different in the NBA. If you predict someone at 2 rebounds more, 2 assists more, to me, that's a big window that I feel comfortable in. When you're talking 2 yards for a receiver, that's one play. And so it's really scary, on this with the unders. The 2 biggest bets on your unders are A.J. Barner and Rashid Shaheed. The best bet on your overs, Hunter Henry. And so, that's a good example. You see Kenneth Walker. They got him predicted to get 24.2. Prize Picks, according to this, has him at 22.5. Underdog at 21.5. But before I did that, because if we'll remember, they also had him over on the rushing, I would jump straight to rushing and receiving yards and see what it looks like. And it looks like they have him at, it's hard for me to see because of my screen here, 6.5. So if I had to pick then between taking him on the overs on the rushing or taking him on the overs on the receiving or taking him on the overs on the rushing and receiving, I'm probably looking at either just the rushing or the rushing and receiving. And as we talk here today, I probably would feel just as good taking him on a prediction of 4 point whatever yards over the 70 whatever yards rushing it was than I would 6.5 over both rushing and receiving. I don't think he'll rush for 99.5 yards, so I would have to be counting if I took this that he's going to have at least 1 to 2 to 3 catches, and at least one of them is going to have to be, over 10 yards or so. So I would probably shy away from this, and I'd probably stick with just the rushing. Now, Mac Hollins, I had him on the overs, still feeling good about that because they're predicting him to get 36.9. DeMario Douglas, I didn't have on anything, and they're predicting him to get 9.5. Let's look at him real quick and see what he typically gets. This is rushing and receiving. I mean, it's hit or miss, feast or famine, right? So you just kind of got to figure out if you got money to burn, right? So going back to the other ones I look at, I don't ever do TDs. That's just me. I do every now and then. I watch this guy on YouTube named Noah's Picks. I just like him. I mean, he's pretty productive. He misses some, but he just seems like a good dude. And when he has a TD in it, sometimes I will do that. Like I think I won on JSN's TDs one time, but I steer away from TDs because I just think too much depends on stuff. Like I know Kenneth Walker's going to get carries. I don't know Kenneth Walker's going to get carries in the red zone, right? And so like I know he's going to get carries, so I'm comfortable betting on some of his props, but I am not always comfortable with TDs. So I usually steer pretty clear of TDs, but I'll show you guys that do like it. Anytime TD, I mean, and you can see, like, and when I click really fast over here, I'm over on this far side looking at the difference. That's the first thing I always look at, and then I open people up. None of that makes me feel good about it at all. That sure doesn't make me feel good about it at all. And then, those are the two main TD ones. Receptions, let's see what they've got JSN at this point. So I got him at 7. I think, that worries me a little bit because if the odds makers thought he was going to have more than 7, I think that would look different now. I honestly thought that would be up to 8.5 by now. So that does worry me a little. I mean, I'm still feeling okay about it. If I was on underdog, I'd jump on that 6.5. I don't see a world where he doesn't have that. But you can see those odds are tight, man. And like we looked at DeMario Douglas, and that's what scares me. Like the receiving yards looked good, but the odds makers they have him at 0.5, which means the odds makers think there's a really good chance he doesn't catch a ball. Now Props Cash is predicting him to catch 1, and that's what steers me away from taking that because I have plenty of times, bet on these guys to get 19, 21 yards, and if they're going to get it, they got to get it in the one catch they get, and it worked out for me in one game. I don't remember his name. It was a guy, and I wish I could remember. I don't even know what team he was on. He caught one ball, and he caught it first quarter, and he got the yards that I'd predicted him to get. But he didn't see a catch the rest of the time, and that's why these guys that the odds makers set at 0.5, those always worry me because I just think there's a real good chance, especially in the Super Bowl, they don't see. Now, y'all have all seen it in the Super Bowl. There's somebody we don't ever expect. But for me, that never expects going to be somebody like Cooper Kupp. I'm expecting Cooper Kupp to have a big game tomorrow. So, like, I had him on targets, right? I had him on 4 targets. Does that sound correct to y'all? Let's look back over there. I have him on 4.5 targets. My guess is that's probably about the same. Let's see if I can find that one real quick. I may have took that one. That one may not even be on here. I may have just took that one on my own because, oh no, here it is right here. So they've got Mac Hollins having predicted. Price Pick still has him at 3.5. Underdog has him at 4.5. So there's a good example of what might make me take Mac Hollins if I do another smaller power play. Might make me take him over. Predicted 3.5. Props Cash is projecting him to have 4.7, close to 5. Underdog has him at 4.5. So I would probably look at Price Picks and see if they do still have him at 3.5. See, so they have Smith and so at some point in time, JSN's targets went up to 10.5, which I'm not taking anybody at 10.5. Oh, that's targets. I'm sorry, 10. I'm not taking anybody at 10.5 targets. Let's look for Cooper Kupp. So here they have him at 4.5. Yeah, that doesn't make me feel bad. It doesn't make me feel good. I just have a hard time believing that in the Super Bowl, where Cooper Kupp is one of the few Seattle Seahawks that's played in the Super Bowl, he's a big gamer. He ain't gonna be nervous. I just have a hard time believing he's not going to get the ball thrown his way. I don't ever mess with interceptions. To me, those are like touchdowns. It's just like I feel like I have some control over rushing yards, receptions, targets. I don't feel like I have any control over touchdowns and interceptions, so I stay away from them. I will jump on pass attempts sometimes. Like you can see, they're predicting Drake May to go 28.4, whereas the line is at 30.5. But all the odds have him at 30.5, so that one, kind of in the middle. Completions, not touching that. They've got them both at 20.5. Let's see if yep. I never really use sleeper. You can see sleepers different on a lot of these. The ones that I look at the most, Price Picks, Underdog, Profit X, they all look the same. So that nothing about that makes me feel good. We did that. I did longest pass. No, I did longest reception. They've got Sam Darnold. That worries me a little because they've got him at 35.5. They're predicting him at 32.7. So let's see how that equates to the longest reception. So good. They still have Rashid Shaheed under. I don't remember what I got him at, but they've got him at 15.5 there. Underdog's at 14.5, which that tells me that one is looking good as far as what the odds makers say. Jake Bobo. So here's another one. Like, I don't like this. They've got him projected at 3.5 on props cash. The odds makers have him at 0.5, and it looks like it's only an underdog. But, man, if those odds makers having you predicted to maybe catch 1 and them having you projected to catch 3.5, like that's a big discrepancy that I don't trust. So I'm staying away from that. And then, you saw on the other hand, I don't really veer too much in the defense. Like if I'll pull this up and I see something that stands out as I do a quick click, then I might look at it further. But, and again, man, a lot of this is just preference. Like I probably bet on it once or twice and didn't have success, so got away from it. Like on the NBA right now, I've been having pretty good success on the fantasy score. So like today I have one flex that's all fantasy scores. My guess is I got scared away from this at one point in time. But the only one that would make me look further, Ernest Jones, odds makers say they have him at 4.5. They're projecting him on props cash at 3.3. Price Picks has him at 4.5, underdog. So I would probably still check Price Picks. Let's just do it while we're here, and that'll be the last thing I talk about. So we're looking at Ernest Jones to see if his assists are still at 4.5. So we're going to go back and we're going to share that one again. All right, let's get off of that. Let's go back over here to the board. Let's go to NFL. What was his name? We're looking for Ernest Jones. All right, so they've got him as a demon at 4.5, and I'm not. Like, obviously, props cash was predicting over, so all I needed to see. Done. Staying away from that. So, you can still get, if you're looking, you can still get the Drake May over 0.5 pass yard special if you haven't done it yet. Jump on that. And then partner with one of the other ones that you thought, as we looked through my picks in the props cash stuff that you thought looked good. Partner with 2 others. That's what I would tell you. Like, that's a 3-man power for me. Get Drake May because that's a gimme, and then have a 2-man on top of that. That's a 3-man power. $10 will get you 35, will get you 15, and, enjoy. I would assume that Price Picks with those Super Bowl promo out tomorrow. So I'll probably save any other picks I have till about 11 a.m. Central because that's usually when they kind of start popping up to see if, if there's any discount picks, if there's any promos, anything like that. But other than that, guys, enjoy. Thank you for watching. I know it's been a bit, but yeah, enjoy the Super Bowl. Laters.